Welcome to I May Be Wrong.
I don't know what this world is coming to,
but I don't think so. We're broadcasting from the greater Nashville area, the home of country music, beyond the borders of political correctness and identity politics. Facts and faith are our demarcations. Truth lights our path.
Here's the Barry White of Podcast Radio,
the Venerable Alfonso Ashworth.
Well, welcome to another episode of I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so. Of course, we got a great episode lined up for you this hour. I'm going to be talking about what's going on in the current events. I had planned, of course, a lot of things I want to talk about. What's happening in the media. Of course, there's a lot happening in the media. There's some events going on at the moment in Minneapolis. I'm trying to keep my one eye on that situation because it's something that is sort of getting out of hand. We have a lot of problems in this country. I mean, a lot of problems. And I'm not going to shy away from what's happening at the moment because it would be, it wouldn't be fair to my viewers and my listeners if I was someone that shied away from these controversial topics. Because it's something I talk about all the time. You hear me, you come on, you go to my podcast. And by the way, thank you for, if you someone that has been helping me on my broadcast, thank you. I appreciate it. Of course, you can go to my website. You can go to I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so.com. That's I May Be Wrong, but I don't think so.com. You can go there. You can help me. You can subscribe. You can become a member of my team. Of course, you can become a member of the Furnace. If you want to make a comment, you can do so from the website. You can contact me there. You can find all the latest information and get my emails. You get my newsletters. Of course, you can also comment on Facebook Live. If you have a comment or a question that you would like to have aired during the broadcast, you can do so on Facebook Live, and you can also do so on YouTube Live as well. Well, what's happening at the moment? Well, I'm going to tell you. I support our officers and our men and women in uniform. Everyone who has visited my Facebook page, who has commented on my Facebook page, you know that I'm somebody that supports the men and women in uniform. But you also know, if you've listened to me long enough, that I am for justice. And Dr. Martin Luther King said it best when he said, injustice anywhere is the threat to justice everywhere. And anytime we see an injustice, no matter which side we're on, we have to address that. If we're going to have any credibility, look, I'm not going to be like CNN. I'm not going to be like MSNBC and these other networks. I'm not even going to be like Fox News. I'm not trying to get you to side with me on everything. But I want to look at something right quick. And if y'all have a thought on this, please make a comment. Or, if you have something that you want to share, you can do so on my Facebook page and YouTube Live, and I'll see the comments. But let's look at this. And this is horrifying. This hurts my heart to have to see this. But it's real. And it happens. And we just have to deal with it.
Officers in connection with the death of George Floyd have been fired. The mayor added, quote, "This is the right call." George Floyd died in police custody after an officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for at least 7 minutes. The episode was recorded by a bystander. We want to warn our viewers the video is very disturbing. You can see the officer crouched here. Witnesses say the African-American man on the ground, identified as George Floyd, repeatedly cried, "My neck hurts and I can't breathe."
Please, I can't breathe.
A few minutes into the video, Floyd stops moving, but the officer kept his knee in place for several more minutes. The police department says the officers were responding to a report of a forgery. The department says the man was, quote, ordered to step out of his car. After he got out, he physically resisted officers. Officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted that he appeared to be suffering medical distress. Officers called for an ambulance. He was taken to a hospital where he died a short time later. At no time were weapons of any type used by anyone involved. No officers were injured in the incident. The family's lawyer tweeted out this picture of George Floyd.
There you have it. There you have it. It is what it is. And I'm not one to shy away from controversy. I'm just not. I'm going to deal with it. I see that Brother Will Addison is in the chat room. Thank you, Brother Will. Brother Will is a great man, and I really admire him. And, of course, I look up to Brother Will. He's done so much for me to help me learn this craft in a way that I couldn't have known about. Thank you, sir. But let me get back to this video. 7 minutes. Now, of course, I've got other things I can discuss, and I'm going to try to get those things in. But this is important because people are rioting over this, and this is wrong, too. There's no sense in destroying personal property. There's no sense in destroying people's lives that it had nothing to do with this. There's no call for that. Yes, you can peacefully protest just like others are doing all across this country that are disagreeing with what's going on in our government. You can peacefully protest. You have a God-given right to do that. But you cannot go and destroy property and harm other people that had nothing to do with this tragedy. It is tragic. You saw the video. You've heard the man saying that he couldn't breathe. He was already having a medical situation, and this officer, for whatever reason he decided to do this, decided to put his knee on this man's neck for 7 minutes. And the guy was handcuffed on his belly. He was on his belly handcuffed. Look, there is no way, no how that anyone can justify this one. Yes, there are situations where we need to address crime in our neighborhoods. There are children being murdered in their front yards. There are people being discarded and discredited and disillusioned, if you want to say it that way, because they don't even know what to do. They live in these neighborhoods. They have nowhere else to go. They are subject to this crime that's going on in places like Chicago, where they just have 40-something people murdered over the weekend, over Memorial Day weekend. Nobody talks about those issues, and this is why I'm telling you, I'm not a news reporter. I'm not a news reporter. I'm just an opinion giver. And I'm just telling you this particular situation, this video is horrifying. There is no way they're going to get this one justified. There is no way that these officers are going to have any type of way to say, well, we didn't know what was happening, or we didn't have an idea what was going on. I'm going to play the video once more if you missed it. I see those in the chat room. Leslie Bolt says, you're correct. This is so horrible, breaks my heart. I pray justice will be served. Carl Ellis Mitchell III says, I pray that the officers involved are held responsible and repent for their wrongdoings. That's and Rocky Gann. Thank you, Rocky, for hosting a watch party on his page. This one, you can't look. I see him, and you know what? I understand what the media is going to do with this. I understand that they're going to play it to the race card as far as they can play it. I don't know if this was a racial issue. I think it's a horrible, horrible action by these police officers, especially 4 of them standing around, knowing and people watching and videotaping it. And these officers are just standing there as if this is normal protocol. Maybe it is in Minneapolis. If I have some friends out there from Minneapolis or from that area, I know I do. I've got friends in Chicago. So let me know, is this normal? Look, I live in the South. You hear this all the time with the South, they racist and whatnot. You know, this seems to be happening more in these large urban cities where people are trapped. And apparently this man, George Floyd, was arrested for trying to do fraud or something. That's what the report says. But that was not justified in what they did to him. I'm going to play this video once more, and then we're going to move on. If you got some other comments you want to make, please do so. Please do so.
Officers in connection with the death of George Floyd have been fired. The mayor added, quote, "This is the right call." George Floyd died in police custody after an officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for at least 7 minutes. The episode was recorded by a bystander. We want to warn our viewers the video is very disturbing. You can see the officer crouched here. Witnesses say the African-American man on the ground, identified as George Floyd, repeatedly cried, "My neck hurts and I can't breathe."
Please, I can't breathe.
A few minutes into the video, Floyd stops moving, but the officer kept his knee in place for several more minutes. The police department says the officers were responding to a report of a forgery. The department says the man was, quote, ordered to step out of his car.
Well, there you have it. Michael Wharton says the only justification is for the officers to be charged with first-degree murder. You know, like I said, I support officers. I'm a big supporter of our men and women in uniform, but there's no justification. There's no way that anybody can say that this was handled according to protocols, especially if a person is handcuffed, laying on their stomach on the ground, and they're no longer a threat. And for you to put your knee on the back of somebody's neck for 7 minutes, you are a murderer, plain and simple. You murdered this man. But people, you cannot riot. You cannot destroy property. You cannot harm innocent people. Yes, peacefully protest. Peacefully let your voice be heard and go and ask for justice to be done. But do not let this get you in a situation where you create more problems, create greater harm, and the problem still never gets resolved. Of course, there's other things that are happening. Of course, I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I'm Alfonso Ashworth, and I appreciate everybody that's coming in and commenting on this subject. Carl Ellis Mitchell III said, "Isn't it interesting these situations mostly happen in places that are governed by leftists?" He says, "I'm shaking my head that officers won't is just won't. What officers won't is just wrong." Yeah, it seems, I'm sorry, it seems to happen in places where there's heavy-handed governing. And that sort of segues me into this next segment about some of the other things that are going on that sort of creates the environment for this civil disobedience. These governors, especially the governor in Michigan, this governor is got an attitude of do as I say, not as I do attitude. Just very arrogant. And now, of course, it's come out about her husband. We're talking about Governor Whitmer, of course. Now we find out that her husband was attempting to skirt the rules. Now think about this. Think about it, that these governors are clamping down on us, clamping down on the citizens, stripping us of our civil rights, just like what's going on with this officers and this man, George Floyd, that just was murdered. They're stripping our civil rights out of the Constitution in the name of they're protecting us. Carl says, fire ain't good enough. They better lock those officers. Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you. The officers that killed this officer that had, especially the one that had his knee on the man's neck, should be charged with murder. Period. Plain and simple. I mean, this is going to be Rodney King all over again. Except in this situation, the man was handcuffed and on his belly. He was on his belly handcuffed. I just don't see how you get around it. But in any case, of course, what's going on in other places right now with Michigan and Virginia, look, Virginia's cracking down even more. Now they're telling churches, oh, yeah, you can go to church. Y'all go back to church, but only 10 of you can attend. And you have to do this, and you have to jump through this hoop, and you have to jump over this hurdle, and this hurdle. The president is saying, no, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to allow you to punish churches while you allow liquor stores, while you allow strip clubs, while you allow everyone, weed shops and everybody else to stay open, and Walmart is staying open. The grocery markets are allowing people to come in. But no, the church people, for some reason, we're not smart enough to deal with this. But let's listen to the latest video now that's come out with this governor in Michigan and what was said about her husband and him wanting to get his boat out of dock. He was trying to skirt the policies. He was trying to get around the rules that were set forth by this governor upon everyone else in the state of Michigan. But let's listen to what she tried to say. That this was just.
A failed attempt at humor last week when checking in with the small business that helps with our boat and dock up north. Knowing it wouldn't make a difference, he jokingly asked if being married to me might move him up in the queue. Obviously, with the motorized boating prohibition in our early days of COVID-19, he thought it might get a laugh. It didn't. And to be honest, I wasn't laughing either when it was relayed to me, because I knew how it would be perceived. He regrets it. I wish it wouldn't have happened. And that's really all.
Well, you know, monkeys see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Citizens are being encouraged to spy on one another. American citizens are being told, if you see someone breaking one of our rules, you report it to this number, you text it to this number, you email it to me right away, and I will make sure these criminals are punished. They're breaking our rules. And here's this governor's husband over the holiday weekend trying to intimidate this dock inspector, this dock individual that's over this boating dock. And he tells this person, do you know who I am? I am the governor's husband. And then she says, well, somebody says no volume, we can't hear you again. Well, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. Facebook has probably silenced me again, folks. I'm getting a report that no one can hear me on Facebook. If you can hear me, please let me know. I see that one person says I can't hear you again on Facebook. It's trying to shut you down, brother. Yes, yeah, of course. Carvel says I can hear you fine, brother. Leslie says, okay, we're good. But the thing is, E.F. Wilson, I know, hey, buddy, how you doing, man? Appreciate you coming in. The thing is, Facebook has been trying to shut me down. They do everything but put me in Facebook jail, really, because I don't do anything to go to Facebook jail. So the only thing they can do is try to tamper with my show. But guess what, folks? The episodes are pre-recorded. They're recorded. So you can catch them again live not live, but on my Facebook page, or you can catch them on YouTube live as well. But in any case, what I was talking about is what's going on with the governor, and you know, people are sick and tired of this. We are fed up. We are fed up with this nonsense that's coming out of our government. You have the president of the United States that is trying his darnest to open up the country again, to get us back to work, to get us into this transition to where we can rebuild this country. And you have these governors, mostly in blue states, by the way, Democratic-run states, that are doing everything. This is part of that resistance movement. That's part of this resistance movement that started the moment the man took office. Maxine Waters said, we're going to impeach 45. We're going to impeach 45. And then ever since, Adam Schiff, ever since that happened, Jerry Nadler, and a whole horde of Democrats in Congress have tried to impeach this president. They're still trying to impeach the president. But this right here, this video and others. There's other videos out there. Let's see what else is out there in the queue. Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? See that you're in the chat room.
A failed attempt at humor last week when checking in with the small business that helps with our boat and dock up north. Knowing it wouldn't make a difference, he jokingly asked if being married to me might move him up in the queue. Obviously, with the motorized boating prohibition in our early days of COVID-19, he thought it might get a laugh. It didn't. And to be honest, I wasn't laughing either when it was relayed to me, because I knew how it would be perceived. He regrets it. I wish it wouldn't have happened. And that's really all.
You know, this is why people are protesting.
What I say to them is that I'm not acknowledging anybody who is being considered, but I guarantee you
here's another
there are multiple
chucklehead
black women being considered. Multiple.
Well, you know,
Thank you so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
Let's see if he can shut his mouth.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something
now he's attacking
for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on.
Liar. He's a liar. The man is he's one of the most mendacious people that's running for office. And people will say that Trump lies. Trump may say a lot of things out of order. Trump may say a lot of things that are not exactly the kosher. But Donald Trump loves America. There is no doubt about it. But if this person here, who, by the way, he's on the attack now, he's attacking the person that was the show host. I'm not familiar with the show that well. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know. I don't want to mispronounce the man's name, but apparently he's a huge radio host from New York. And now Biden is saying that the host was being a wise guy, so he decided to be a wise guy with him. So now that's their story. They keep changing the story. They keep changing it to, well, it was a joke, just like what Governor Whitmer said. It was a joke. My husband was just joking. And before, when Biden first came out with his comment, his handlers came out and said, oh, that was just in jest. He was just being a wise guy. Now, all of a sudden, now they turned the tables against the black so-called liberal host of this show. They're getting ready to throw him under the bus. You watch and see what I tell you. Whoever this host is, they're going to go do a full frontal attack on him, and his career is going to be over. It may be the last time you hear or have anything to do on that show. But, of course, we're talking about, of course, what's going on with other things. He says Ruby Ruffin says he can be sarcastic, but Trump couldn't be about the Lysol. You know, and really what we found out about Trump and about the disinfectant, there are companies that are experimenting with types of aerosols and things like that that would be able to go into your body and of course go through your skin and do some other things to act as a disinfectant to these viruses. That came out like a week after that was said. You got to know the president knows a lot of things that are happening. But of course, we're talking about also this video, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to shy away from it. It happened. And unfortunately, it happened in a situation where a man died who happened to be black. He could have been white. He could have been Asian. He could have been Latino. He could have been a lot of things. And really, I'm not sure how much would be made of this if this officer happened to be black, if the officers happened to be black and this happened. We know this happened in Baltimore, and those officers were exonerated. These officers will have no excuse. There's not going to be any way they can have an excuse. If you missed the video, if you hadn't seen the video, I want to share it with you before we leave the program, because it's warranted. It is warranted.
Officers in connection with the death of George Floyd have been fired. The mayor added, quote, "This is the right call." George Floyd died in police custody after an officer pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for at least 7 minutes. The episode was recorded by a bystander. We want to warn our viewers the video is very disturbing. You can see the officer crouched here. Witnesses say the African-American man on the ground, identified as George Floyd, repeatedly cried, "My neck hurts and I can't breathe."
Please, I can't breathe.
A few minutes into the video, Floyd stops moving, but the officer kept his knee in place for several more minutes. The police department says the officers were responding to a report of a forgery. The department says the man was, quote, ordered to step out of his car. After he got out, he physically resisted officers. Officers were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted that he appeared to be suffering medical distress. Officers called for an ambulance. He was taken to a hospital where he died a short time later. At no time were weapons of any type used by anyone involved. No officers were injured in the incident. The family's lawyer tweeted out this picture of George Floyd.
Well, I mean, there you have it in a nutshell. Ruby says it's hard to witness. E.F. Wilson says awful, just awful. And Sherry Lee Hughes says, yes, maybe so, but would they get the same media attention? She's talking about if this happened to be a black officer and even a different race. We don't know. This happens often. The police officers are put in harm's way. Many of them are being assassinated on the job while they sit in their patrol cars or while they are getting ready for their jobs. They are being assassinated. And unfortunately, the media in this time that we're in, and we just have to accept it for what it is, in this time that we're in, the media is going to play this up for politics. President Trump can only do so much in terms of speaking out against these tragedies. Just the same way that when Obama was in office, he got a pass, but this president will not get a pass. They're just not going to do it. They're going to blame him for this. They're going to blame him for the virus. They're going to blame him for just about everything. Look, if he said air is bad and you should not breathe, trust me, the Democrats and the media would say the opposite. Or if he said, you know, the sky is falling, they would say, no, it's not. It's just, they're just doing whatever they do. The E.F. Wilson said the knee was a weapon. That is true. Of course, we're getting ready to come up on the end of the program. I wish we could do an hour. I really would like to do an hour. But you can help me. You go to the website. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Become a subscriber, become a contributor. There's merchandise there. You can help out on the show. All the proceeds go to help the show grow. And I have a lot of people wanting to support this program. And we're doing a lot to help those who are the voices that are not being heard. Of course, as always, as I say every week, God bless you. God bless America. God bless our children. and peace.
You've been listening to Alfonso Ashworth, the Barry White of Podcast Radio. Go forth and share his message. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. Remember, no two people can ever occupy the same place at the same time. You were uniquely and wonderfully made. Born an original. Don't die a copy. God bless. Peace.